Hey guys, Othalon here again with an updated and improved version of my Shockadin guide. This time I wanted to be more detailed and provide a full overview of everything that adds up to make this work. Now, Shockadin's usefulness is entirely concentrated within the first 30-second burst window of Avenging Wrath, meaning it's more of a farm build for 2v2 skirmishes, LFR raids, or impressing ladies. Going into this guide, I'm going to assume you've had some practice with the basics of Holy Paladin healing, and you have at least some PvP gear, including your 2-piece set bonus. Now first I'll start with the glyph and talent setup, and then I'll move into the rotation. Now, it's absolutely mandatory that you run Glyph of Holy Shock, Glyph of Harsh Words, and Glyph of Denounce. Your Glyph of Holy Shock is a 25% bonus to the damage of your Holy Shock at the cost of 25% of its healing. This glyph actually scales really well with Avenging Wrath and is going to make your Holy Shock your hardest hitting ability next to Harsh Words. Next up is Glyph of Denounce. This glyph reduces the cast time of your next Denounced by 0.5 seconds after casting Holy Shock, stacking up to 3 times. The decreased cast time is going to help a lot, not only with keeping Denounce up on your target, which makes them incapable of critting, but also helps fill the void between Holy Shock cooldowns perfectly and helps with sustained damage as well. Finally, your Glyph of Harsh Words. This glyph makes your Word of Glory cast as harsh words on enemy targets for huge damage, essentially allowing you to use your holy power offensively. This glyph is the main source of your burst, as the harsh word casts can hit for as much, if not more, than your holy shocks with wings. By pooling holy power, you can cast 2 of these back to back between holy shocks. Alright, on to talents. For the first tier, I would recommend Speed of Light. The on-demand speed allows you to chase for a kill. With such a short kill window, the speed will definitely come in handy. Long Arm of the Law is useless to use because Judgment deals very little damage and rarely used while shocking or otherwise. Pursuit of Justice is a nice alternative, but you'll be constantly spending your holy power and you'll be draining your mobility when it matters most. Second tier is also a no-brainer. Fist of Justice is the only spell you have to stop or slow your target. Unfortunately, Holy Paladins cannot afford to spec into any slows on their own, and the stun being on such a short cooldown makes it a great choice. Repentance or Blinding Light may work for you if you need the CC and can afford to stun with such a short range, but most times you'll be running Fist of Justice. Third tier, you want Sacred Shield. You can apply these out of the gate, and not having to worry about reapplying it when GCDs matter most is important, as well as having a nice dispel buffer. Eternal Flame doesn't work with your Glyph of Harsh Words, and Selfless Healer again calls for using judgments that you simply cannot afford to cast. Fourth tier is going to be the same consideration as your healing build. I'm not going to go into that in this guide. Fifth tier talent. Now, Sanctified Wrath is also responsible for a huge chunk of Shockadin's power. It ups Avenging Wrath's duration from 20 seconds to 30, reduces the cooldown of your most powerful spell by 50%, and its critical strike chance by 20. This is typically your default choice. Holy Avenger actually does more damage, but because it's such a short window that requires you to stand and turret, with more risk of CS and much less mobility potential, it falls behind overall. Divine Purpose offers no base damage increase or benefit to burst, and the 30% chance for a second harsh word isn't guaranteed in our window, making it the worst choice in this tier. Sixth tier. Any talent in this tier will work for you. Execution Sentence is a great instant heal, but it also hits incredibly hard if your target plans on living for more than 10 seconds. Holy Prism has nice AoE and single target burst potential. It also heals you while dealing damage, and has a cooldown short enough that you can get 2 in during Avenging Wrath. Light's Hammer works well if you intend on using this build to farm or raids, but because of its radius and single target damage, it isn't really worth using in Arena. And finally in Tier 7, Saved by the Light gives you a nice mindless heal for you and your partner while you burst, which reduces the amount of active healing you need to do while you have Avenging Wrath up. The other choices in this tier don't really work well for this build's intent. Alright, as for gearing and stats, your priority is going to be the same as your holy recommendations, with critical strike and haste being king. Versatility is also a nice option. Mastery and Spirit are outright useless for Shockadin, and you should take as little as possible. The 2-piece PvP bonus, which allows you to leech critical strike from your denounced target, is very important to your damage output. The 4-piece is nice, but counterproductive to harsh words. And finally, being human is also really nice for the bonus versatility and a second damage trinket. Okay, now let's talk rotation. It's actually really simple. You want a Holy Shock on cooldown and denounce between them. Outside of wings, it should be 3 denounces to a Holy Shock, and during you will cycle between the two. When you have 5 Holy Power, you will Harsh Words, Holy Shock for your 3rd Holy Power, and Harsh Words again. That's your burst. Always be sure to use Denounce for the Absolution buff from your 2-piece before doing anything. Holy Radiance and Holy Shock can be used while out of combat to stack Holy Power, and a Holy Avenger build will operate with a similar priority. However, Crusader Strike becomes more desirable than Denounce, while Holy Avenger is active if you can manage to strike anything close by. Shockadin has a lot to help in the way of free casting, including Hand of Protection, Devotion Aura, Divine Shield. Just be sure to cancel when no longer needed because of the 50% damage penalty, and any other things that you would normally do to avoid CC as a healer, such as using a Hand of Sacrifice on crowd control that breaks on damage, hugging pillars when needed, or using Speed of Light to chase or get a clutch kick. Don't forget while chasing that when Glyph of Denounce stacks to 3, you can cast Denounce without having to stop. And if you are moving, Holy Shock is on cooldown, and you don't have a 3-stack of the Denounce Glyph, you can also Judge or perhaps use a Crusader Strike to generate Holy Power. Aside from that, just don't forget that you are a healer, and that Shockadin setup doesn't hurt your healing much at all, so don't let yourself or anyone around you die. And until next time, thanks for watching.